Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November 17th, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, the news of the day is still the news of 2 days ago. Let's be honest. Blake James getting terminated. It's the buzz of the Canes Nation. And the one thing that I'm seeing very consistently is that this has created a lot of excitement out there in the fan community. And, you know, it's like, it's kind of weird. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. It's like the Blake James tenure as athletic director was not all negative. I mean, you know, there were some positive things that Blake James did in his time, and in terms of raising money and facilities and the indoor practice facility and so forth and so on. But all everybody really remembers is the struggles on the football field and the rush hire that he made of Manny Diaz, and the fact that that totally blew up on him. And I mean, it's kind of sad because now he's gone, and it's like ding dong, the witch is dead. It's like I feel like we're watching the Wizard of Oz all over again, and you know, it's just kind of a little strange. Your thoughts?
Did you just reference the Wizard of Oz? I don't even know what to say
I did,
now.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Time out. Listen, I was taking a lot of crap on the message boards yesterday. Okay, people think, oh, you're interrupting Matt too much, right? So this is what I got some tape for today. I'm going to be tape phase. Okay.
Don't do that.
No. When you're speaking, I'm going to put tape over my mouth so that your legion of fans gets undivided attention and can hang on every word. So let me say it again. Matt, your thoughts.
Wow. I mean, I can't look at the TV. I can't look at the screen like this. I'm at a loss for words. You know, if you could leave that on permanently instead of only when I'm talking, you know, then maybe I would be amenable to this whole situation. All right, so you referenced The Wizard of Oz. I don't know how often you watch that movie. I haven't seen it since I was 10 years old. So, you know, ding dong, the witch is dead. You know, I don't understand even what you're talking about. Like, Blake James is a witch? Is that what you're saying?
When the witch died, they sang ding dong, the witch is dead.
I understand, but who's the witch? Why are you referencing it?
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Da-da! That's kind of how it went. All right.
Yeah, why? I don't understand why you're referencing it in relation to Blake James. But anyway, Blake James is not a witch, for those of you that are wondering. We don't have to burn him at the stake. Throw him in the water with rocks and see if he floats. Nothing like that. To your point, I mean, I did say it yesterday morning, right? I said all anyone cares about is football. I said they don't care what anyone else, what the athletic director does. They don't care about basketball and baseball as much as some of you do like those sports. I know the baseball fans in particular are super passionate, all 8 of you. Like, they don't. This is not what the Miami Hurricanes fan base is upset about. Even though the baseball team struggled, the basketball team struggled, they care about football. And if the AD comes in and raises a ton of money and upgrades all the facilities, and every other team at wins national championships and the football team goes 4-8 every year, they will want him to be fired. Like, that's Miami Hurricanes, okay? That's what football means to this program. And that's why as I do this search, you know, I've been talking to people. I know you've been on the phone constantly. I don't even have time to shave today, but, you know, talking to people, there is concern out there. This is an academic institution. It's not an athletic institution. And there's concern out there that it's going to be a little of the same old in this AD search, and perhaps even the coaching search, which scares me. Because if they don't get it that the reason that there's so much outside noise is because they need to get a football athletic director, not an academic athletic director who makes sure everyone's at the 95% graduation rate or whatever. If they don't understand that they need to get Mario Cristobal and not some up-and-coming young coach, which they've tried to do so many times, then this is going to be a disaster. And you and I will go into our old age without having covered a national championship game. Because, you know, reflecting, since Gary can't talk, reflecting on when I first started. Can you even breathe through your nose? You're going to pass out or something? Like, I can't breathe through my nose. if I had a criminal come in my house and tape my mouth shut so I couldn't yell, I literally would die. But listen, maybe you'll survive.
Listen, my feelings were hurt. I mean, they were coming after me like maniacs, man. I mean, they were saying some nasty stuff, okay? So I'm making sure that I don't give them any material today.
There's no such thing as bad publicity, Gary, okay? I don't, people have already, listen, everyone's, I think this guy who keeps calling me a hater now says I'm not a hater or whatever. He doesn't, he didn't mean it or something. I don't know. But listen, I don't mind being called names. The whole point, Gary, is when you talk, just talk from your heart, like say what you mean. And when you interrupt somebody, it better be for a good reason, that's all. And I feel like I haven't
said anything yet worthy of interruption.
Okay. In your defense, I feel like I've interrupted you just as much as you've interrupted me. Perhaps I've even been less respectful to you than you've been to me, but that's what this is all about. That's what this is about. This is about difference of opinions at times. We do agree that, we both have the same vision for Miami, which is Mario Cristobal as the head coach, a football big-time athletic director running the program, and giving Mario the tools to succeed. Where we differ in our vision is how to get there. You think it can be a rush deal where you can save this recruiting class and you can bring in, everything you need by getting it all done December 15th. Whereas I'm of the mind, like, I don't mind taking time and, getting it right. And I know you posted on the message board earlier yesterday, that, maybe Manny Diaz stays or whatever for another year.
No,
it's a possibility.
I maybe got a little careless with my words. What I said was that there's 3 scenarios. The third scenario would be that an athletic director comes in and takes a year to get his feet wet and then makes a head coaching hire. I don't think that's going to happen. That's not my opinion. I just said that's a scenario that I've had.
Put your tape back on.
People mention that to me.
You've already explained it. Put the tape back on.
I don't think it's playing out that way. So you just interrupted me. You need to get some damn tape too, okay? Go.
So listen, your whole thing that we talked about yesterday was you thinking it'd be done by the first week of December. And my whole point is I don't want a timeline on this, but I want it to be done. And I want it to be done correctly. You can't make this about the recruiting class, okay? The deadline to me is probably 2 weeks before spring practice. They have time to sort of make a plan and go over the personnel they have and how they want to attack spring practice. That's it. Have every assistant coach in place by that point. The head coach obviously needs to be hired fairly in advance of that to get everyone's contracts done. No, not yet. And if that takes until the end of January, whatever, I don't care. This is not about next year to me. I think, by the way, next year the team will be fine with so much young talent. I'll call on you later. The point to me is this is a 5 to 10 year plan that they're doing now. And can it be great next year? Yes. But this is not just about next year and not about this recruiting class. Okay. Because of COVID, put your hand down. Because of COVID numbers, this is a great time to take your time, get the right coach. You don't need a lot of recruits. And we're going to write a story at some point this week talking about the numbers and how it all factors into this recruiting class and why it's not important to have a major recruiting class. I mean, is it great to get a Wesley Bassines and a Shamar Stewart? Of course. But if you don't get them, it's okay. It's more important to get the right assistant coaches, pay them the right amount to make sure that they're here for the long term. And Mario also. Yes, Gary, speak.
All right.
Why do I have a feeling you're going to talk for the next 10 minutes now?
All right. I got a lot of pent up things to say here, so you got to let me speak. All right. Here's my first question. Why can't they walk and chew gum? Why can't you name a coach by the second week of December and still try to salvage a few elite players before the third week of December, or at worst convince them to do what Shamar Stewart is doing, for example, and wait until the February signing day to sign and give you a legitimate chance to recruit them and try to convince them to come to Miami. If they're South Florida kids, they should be willing to do that, or they should be willing to come visit in that 2 week span and then make a decision. So that's the first thing I'm going to say.
Okay, but that's pie in the sky.
It's not pie in the sky.
It is, because
number
it may
two,
or may not happen.
I'm going to give you number 2. Let me talk. Okay, let me talk. Here's number 2. You ready? If they hire Mario Cristobal, the day that he says, I'm coming to Miami, you don't think that he knows who his coaching staff is going to be? I mean, at least 75% of it. I mean, there might be a few jobs that he interviews for and stuff. he's going to know the minute he says, I will come to Miami, who he wants to bring with him to Miami. Okay. Now, the guys that are not in the college football playoff theoretically would be available to go through their orientation at Miami, take their drug tests, whatever, and very quickly be paid employees at the University of Miami, able to recruit. Okay, that's number one. Number two, a guy that I feel pretty confident would be on his staff at Miami. You know what? I don't even want to go there yet because I don't want to open that can of worms. But here's what I'm going to say. They can do both. They can walk and chew gum. They can salvage this recruiting class with a few elite players.
All right, here's
and then
the
be ready to hit the portal, whatever the timeline ends up being with a guy like Mario.
Here's the situation. You're Mario. What? Put the tape back on.
I'm all in on Mario.
I know you're going to keep.
Mario says no. And wait, give me a minute. I'm going to put this back on. Until Mario says no, I'm all about Mario because Matt, he checks every single box for me.
Of course,
and if you want me to go through all the boxes, I will.
Put the tape back on.
I'm all about Mario until he says no. Okay?
I'm all about Mario also, but I'm gonna put the tape on. I'm a realist, unlike you. Okay, if let's say Mario wants this job, I think he does. Okay, and let's say Miami is willing to give him exactly what he wants. You have to think that whenever they get a new AD, that's gonna be the first thing that happens. Can the AD get along with Mario? If they can, let's get this done. And at that point, I hope, and I know Mario's got high hopes for his Oregon team this year, but if Mario's future is at Miami, at that minute where they come to terms verbally, I hope that he would announce, I'm going to be leaving Oregon after the year, coming to Miami. But you're right. You're shaking your head no, because he won't. Because he won't. Go ahead. What?
If they're in the playoff,
right? He won't.
There's no chance he'd be leaving early. But that doesn't mean he can't say I'm going to Miami. And coaches have done this on many occasions. You stay what you're doing. It's in the benefit of Oregon to know that he would be leaving, quite frankly. And then you have that window. You have a whole month in between games. I mean, or 3.5 weeks between games. I mean, you could take a couple days and get things organized at Miami and then go back to Oregon and have your assistant coaches.
Right. That's what he needs to do. That's what he needs to do. The problem is
he can do both. If he's in the playoff, he's not leaving Oregon early.
Correct. He's not. Oh, he's not leaving Oregon for Miami. Period. You think?
No. If he's in the playoff,
he's not going to announce that he's coming to Miami. Correct.
They may announce it. I don't know what the plan's going to be. I'm just saying, if I'm thinking this through, I'm making the announcement after the conference championship game. Wait, you're going to interrupt me again. I'm making the announcement. See, you're interrupting me way more than
you paused. I tried to get in on a pause. I can't even get on the pauses.
I'm going to put this back on. Don't worry.
I don't think it matters.
It will matter. Let me just finish. Let's say they finish the conference championship games December 4th. Okay, you could announce the next day or two you're going to Miami. The AD at Oregon can say Mario will coach the team in the playoffs. And then Oregon gets to start their search too. It's in their benefit because they have to put their own recruiting class together. So this can work out for everybody. They got to get a deal done first. Yes, it's complicated because of how good of a team that Oregon has this year. And but let's table this discussion and let's let them win these next 2-3 games. And then we'll worry about it. Let them reach a deal with Mario's representatives and those things before we worry about this. Because if there's no deal, then all this is moot conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's not moot conversation because you and I both know Mario. I mean, we've known him for years, and knowing Mario the way I do, the instant you say with your team heading to the playoffs, after this year I'm going to Miami and Oregon's going to be looking for a coach. It's a distraction to his team. Mario's a smart guy. Mario's not going to do that. He wants a national championship. This is his dream, whether it's at Miami or at Oregon. And there's no way in hell he's going to put that at jeopardy by being a distraction to his own team that he's leaving from Miami and coming down here for a couple of days to get things sorted out in the office and go back to Oregon. There's no chance. And that's why I'm saying don't rush it. And guess what? If it's not Mario, don't rush it. Like you're saying to get everything in place, to get a couple of recruits, like to get this thing rushed and get everyone hired and, no, let them take their time and there's no deadline. Yes.
Okay, let's say that scenario plays out. All right, so you're going to let Manny Diaz put together a recruiting class, and stay head coach till January? I don't think so. So then you go to number 2, and it would be you just say whoever wants to come in the early signing period comes, and that's it. And you accept the fact you could have 0 signees in December.
Doesn't bother me.
Theoretically, that could be the case. I would be shocked if it played out that way. I don't think Mario would want 0 recruits in December. I think that the more likely scenario is he says, I'm going to Miami. He's going to coach the team in the playoff.
You don't understand the current way.
And he has a couple staffers in place that put together the recruiting class for the early period, and they try to get as many guys as they can to wait till February. That's what I think would happen.
Listen, okay, first of all, there's 61 freshmen and sophomores on this team, plus the juniors, and then plus you're bringing transfers. What you're not recruiting is not what you think it is anymore. And maybe some fans don't understand this. The instant Miami gets a head coach, whether it's Mario or somebody else, if those kids love that head coach, and if he takes those guys position coaches, which I told you the other day, the position coaches are way more important. I know you're giving Mario, they'll all just follow Mario like the Pied Piper. Okay. But like the position coaches are super important that they have a relationship with the recruits, especially top recruits who have built these relationships over years with position coaches at various schools. Now, with that said, why it's not important, why I don't care if they sign 0 in December, is maybe they convince some of the recruits that are on board already, wait till February. That's always possible. Like, let's let our coach get hired, wait and see who he is, blah, blah. Some of them might do that. Some of them might not. I don't care either way, because when you get Mario or whoever else it is with the position coaches, whoever, they already have kids they know they want, and they have those kids who maybe signed with their previous school, who bonded with those coaches, know they fit in whatever system it's going to be at Miami at that point, okay? And with the new transfer rules, those kids can just immediately say, hey, I'm going to this school with my coach, and they could play right away. There's no harm in that. Now, some kids, of course, let's say it's Mario, some kids might be from the West Coast. They don't want to come here, fine. But if these kids who, for the most part, that I've talked to, if they're top recruits, which is what Mario wants, and they're killers, which is what Mario wants, they're trying to get to the NFL. And the reason they already picked Oregon or whatever school it's going to be is because they think that position coach and that situation and that situation with those coordinators, head coach, et cetera, will get them to the NFL. That's what these kids care about nowadays. It used to be represent the hometown team, win a championship for my city. These kids don't do that anymore. They could care. I mean, I hate to say it, but they care. They'd love to do that, but that's not their first goal. It's like that God, country, family thing, whatever. I'm not going to tell you what order I put it in, but it's like that, right? It's NFL. NFL is the top thing that they care about now, and winning for your city is like pretty far down in their list of what's important to them. Taking care of mom, getting mom a house, whatever, is way ahead of repping my city. So don't worry about 0 recruits in December. Whoever you hire in January, those recruits can show up any day they want before fall practice, but the first spring session. They can come for.
Are you sure about this? Spring school. Are you sure that the transfer rule applies right after you sign?
How do you think we got Keyshawn Smith at Miami, Gary? Do you remember that story?
He didn't sign. He hadn't signed. He never signed.
He never signed. You're incorrect.
No. He was going to go to Washington State, and they stole him before signing day.
The difference is if you haven't already reported to campus, there's waivers you can get, especially when your coach leaves. It's common. It's the new. First of all, there's already the one-time transfer rule, so you can just use that.
I haven't studied that, and I don't know how long it's in effect either.
The one-time transfer rule, you can use it whenever you want.
Yeah, but is it permanent? I'm not sure it's permanent.
The one-time transfer rule?
Yeah, I'd have to research that. I don't know for sure. It may or may not be permanent.
Every kid in the transfer portal is transferring to play right away at their new colleges, regardless of their situation from the past. So, of course, it's still in effect. I don't know what you mean. Of course. These kids aren't going to the transfer portal to go sit out a year and redshirt like the old rule was. Hello? There's a...
No, I'm looking it up. I don't think it's permanent. I think it's just in the 2021-2022 academic year.
So that's still okay. That's what we're going to be in.
No, because a new recruit is coming in 22-23. I don't think it's going to apply to next year's recruits. I think it's a one-time legislation.
No.
I think so.
It gets. I'm fairly sure it gets renewed. I'm looking up at myself right now. I'm looking at the actual NCAA documentation.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some research on that. You know, I don't want to give people the wrong information.
Listen, if it wasn't going to be renewed, who's going to be in the portal down the road? Nobody, because then everyone's got a redshirt a year again. Nobody's doing that.
We're gonna have to do some more research on that. Let's move on for now, and then we'll circle back to that maybe tomorrow or something. But I think it only applies for 1 year. I don't think it's a permanent rule, but like I said, we'll
adopted legislation allows all student athletes who have not transferred in the past the opportunity to compete immediately after transfer once in their period of eligibility. There's no deadline to it.
Oh, it does say once in their period of eligibility? Okay. Yeah. All right, then it is permanent. Yeah. All right.
You can only do it once, but I mean, they could just use it to come to the school they want to. I mean,
right. All right. I'm with you. I didn't remember if it was permanent. So maybe it is permanent.
Anyway, that's my point. My point is they can go wherever. Like, and even if they can't, even if by some weird thing the NCAA rescinds the rule, even then the transfer portal in itself, you know, will have enough kids who have graduated that can transfer in, that, you know, Miami can fill some gaps with the older guys. And again, I'm just not concerned, because when you look at the actual scholarship eligibility numbers, you know, if you look at our tracker online, underclassmen, well, not underclassmen, but freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, okay? There's 37 of them right now, and we took out the guys who already left. 37 of them on offense and 37 of them on defense. That's 74 plus 3 special teamers. That's 77, and you can play with 85, so they could bring in 8 transfers under that rule. So, you know, their numbers are going to be fine. That's not including seniors, obviously, who will be leaving. Maybe a couple of juniors will leave. We'll see. But the point is, you don't have to kill it in recruiting. That's all I'm saying. That's why I keep saying this is the year to bring in the coach, and to put it off a year and have Manny coach 1 more year, which I know is Plan C, is ridiculous, because now you're killing 2 recruiting classes, and your numbers are going to be coming back down again. You need more recruits. Yes, Gary. Just forget the tape. Forget
no,
the tape.
Right,
the tape doesn't do anything.
Do you think that your minions are happy now? Like, can I put this aside?
Yeah, I don't think you need tape.
All right, listen.
I think what you need is that thing in the Batman movie. What's that guy's name? Who has the thing that he can barely talk like this, and he's got his face in that shield. What's that guy's name?
In a shield? I don't know. All right, yeah. I don't know.
He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy, just like you. I can't remember his name now.
I mean, I can paint. You want me to paint my face and be the Joker?
No. Although you could do that.
You want me to be the Penguin and get a cane?
I don't want to get it wrong, because I don't want to say like Garth or something.
You want the Joker? You want the Penguin? I can't be Catwoman. Like, what do you want?
I'm looking up the Batman enemies. It was literally a Bane. Bane. That's it. Look up Bane.
I don't know Bane. But anyway. All right, listen. So we'll be talking more about this. If I had my master plan, and let's say it is Mario, and Mario will come. I'm making the announcement right after the conference championship games. I'm letting everybody know that Mario Cristobal is going to be at Miami. If I'm the athletic director at Oregon, I'm going to say, man, we hate to lose Mario, but we're going to begin the search for our new coach immediately. Mario will coach the team in the college football playoff if they get there. If it's the Rose Bowl or a normal bowl game.
This is what I want you to get. It's on Amazon. I got to get in front of the camera. That's what I want you to get.
All right. You'll send it to me.
I'll send you the link. You'll wear that?
I'll order it. Send it to me. All right.
$38. You can take it out of our cash allowance.
All right. So, but like, that's how I would handle it. Okay. And I would let everybody know on December 5th or 6th or 7th that Mario Cristobal is going to be at Miami. I would have a couple staffers in place at Miami to manage the next couple weeks. And I would, if I could get an elite player in this Miami recruiting class in the early period, I'm getting it done.
No one's going to argue that you shouldn't try to get the elite guys.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's looking to wipe out a year of recruiting, and it's certainly not Mario Cristobal. So
they got to get a head coach. They can't wait. Even if Mario doesn't come, they cannot wait.
I think they can do both. I think they can do it. I think everybody can work together, and everybody can do both. I don't think Mario's going to be looking to poach his Oregon recruiting class and bring those kids to Miami. You
don't think so? Really? Do you know Mario?
Not the majority of them. No, he's not looking to do that to them.
If he's got studs, if he's got studs who are going to that
First
school,
of all, most of them are West Coast kids and stuff. They're not.
Well, if they don't want to come, they don't want to come. But if you don't think he's going to call them,
there'll be a couple that don't live out west. I could think of like an O lineman in Texas that might be an example.
Do you know Mario? He'll try to convince all of them to come down here.
Yeah, but most of those kids aren't traveling all the way across the country.
That's a different story.
Having not visited.
Like,
let's be realistic, okay? I think the focus becomes, Wesley Bissains, Shamar Stewart, Earl Little.
Of course.
Yeah, I think that becomes the focus. The kids in South Florida. But anyway, we'll see. Let's we're putting the cart before the horse here. Right now, there's still a head coach named Manny Diaz. So in a way, we're being a little disrespectful even having this conversation. But we can't help it because this is what people want to know about. This is what people are thinking about. It's on everybody's mind. It's a horrible situation.
That's why Miami should have clarified already. It's not right to Miami what they're doing. I think
it's getting to that point, Matt, where they might clarify it soon.
They need to.
It might get clarified.
Even Virginia Tech did it yesterday. Like, what's the harm?
Yeah, no, it's getting to that point. I think it could happen.
They need to do it. They should have already done it.
I think with Blake James being dismissed, that now it should be on the table. It could happen sooner than later. That's what I'm thinking. All right, let's move on from this subject. All right, so the AD search is on. That's captivating. That's sucking up all the oxygen in the room. No question about it. But we do have some other stuff at CaneSport.com today. We have an analysis of the Virginia Tech team that Miami will be playing, and let's not write off this game on Saturday. You still do have some seniors. It's going to be senior day. It's a big moment for them. You'll have their families coming out on the field. We've got our Mike Harley blog on the site this morning. And as part of that, Mike talks about senior day and how important it is to him to go out right. And as a leader on the team, he's working his teammates to, just go into this game with the right mindset. This program has a very bad recent history of fading in these games and losing all these games late in the season. That's been the history under Manny Diaz, even under Mark Richt before him. And they need to try to not do that this year. They're 5-5. They need one more win to become bowl eligible. Hopefully, for their sake, they haven't decided they don't want to go to a bowl game and they don't pull a Gator flop like those players at Florida did this past weekend in trying to almost throw the game against Stanford. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Hopefully these kids want to play this weekend and they want to play for their senior teammates, and the kids like Mike Harley get to go out in style. So we'll see what happens there. So we got the Virginia Tech analysis. We got the Mike Harley blog. Another interesting story, Matt, that's on the website this morning is Jim Marks takes a look at the history side of the athletic directors at Miami and makes a great point that of the last 13 athletic directors at Miami, Blake James is the only one to get fired. I mean, absolutely, I never really thought about it. But that's kind of stunning because, and again, it goes back to what I said earlier in the show, that it's also kind of sad because I'm not sure Blake James was that bad of an athletic director. I mean, he screwed things up the last couple of years, made a horrible, horrible mistake in choosing not to do a coaching search when Mark Richt left. No argument for me on any of those fronts. But he wasn't a total disaster. And the fact that he's going down in history as the only modern-day athletic director to ever get fired from Miami, that's pretty interesting. So I urge everybody to read Jim Marks' story on that. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that front.
I mean, look, Blake never should have been hired. He was not – when it comes to raising money and getting the IPF built, he was fine. He was actually really good. But if you're going to measure him by athletic success over the last 3 years in Miami's major sports, he was a disaster. So I don't know how you can say he was fine. I mean, it was a disaster.
I agree with what you're saying, but there was a pattern. At that time, Donna Shalala was the president, and she was big on these internal promotions. I mean, she did it with Blake. She did it with Randy. Neither one of them really worked out great. I think Randy could have been, if Randy had today's resources to work with back then, I think Randy would have been a lot better and things might have gone better. But, she
Listen,
really.
The problem, like,
So you
okay,
just
so I interrupted
you.
you.
You just interrupted
I interrupted
me
you.
again. Do me a favor before tomorrow's show. Get yourself some tape.
If I didn't interrupt you, I would never get to talk. That's the problem.
I'm not that long-winded.
Listen, the reason, like, I hear what you're saying, okay, but and I hear it's on Donna, but like when I don't want to throw like assistant coach under the bus, but I talk about this with other reporters all the time, and like there's maybe 2 assistant coaches on the roster, I think, that we all agreed we would actually keep, no matter what coach came in, that are worthwhile. And like, that's on Blake. Like, I know Manny, probably said, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And Blake's just like, okay, you're the boss. Like, that was Blake's thing, was you're in charge of your program. You just tell me what you want to do, and that's fine. That's really a bad athletic director.
You think when you're hiring somebody that's never done it before?
All he did was hire his friends. And Blake's like, okay.
When you're hiring somebody who's never done it?
I mean, if you told me, Gary, that, hey, we're going to hire, a big time new, audiovisual guy to run our programming, and I said, hey, I got a buddy, right now he's working at Burger King, but he'll be great for that. It's a super nice guy. And you said, okay, sounds good. Like, that's what Blake was doing. Like, it didn't matter as long as Manny said, this is what I want. Blake was like, okay. And like, that's not leadership.
Cost the University of Miami a lot of money.
And not there's anything wrong with working at Burger King, by the way.
They ended up giving Dan Enos, for starters, $2 million to walk away. $2 million to leave.
Well, his personality, they never vetted his personality, man. He did not. He was like way too angry.
To find an offensive coordinator that would excite the fan base.
Yeah, he was an angry guy. And that was the problem. He didn't fit in with that country club atmosphere over there at all. It's like picture, you're at your country club, everyone's smiling, hitting their golf balls, and then some guy comes in and he's like, "Get out of my way! It's my turn to use the tee," or like, clear the golf course. Yep. That's Dan Enos, like, super intense guy. Yep. And I never really got to know him at all because he didn't have a personality that I meshed with. I don't think any other coaches meshed with him at all. And like, the fact they didn't vet that either, just like, okay, he was at Alabama, let's just bring him in, like, I don't know what kind of vetting they did. And I don't know if it was Blake's idea or Manny's idea, but it was a disaster, man.
So Blake goes for $5.5 million to send to Temple because they had to give Manny the $4 million plus the taxes, because the way that works is the coach has to pay taxes. So they go $5.5 million to Temple to hire Manny. And then within 12 months, they got to pay another $2 million to Dan Enos to go bye-bye. Okay, that's $7.5 million they threw in the garbage can just because of stupidity. That's fireable. I mean, I'm amazed it took 3 years. I mean, those are fireable offenses right there. I mean,
I think Blake felt that he was look, this is the problem Blake had. Blake felt that he was being supportive of his coaches by rolling over and just doing these things that they told him to do. And like, I mean, you remember back in the day, man, Sam would tell people his mind, right? And he would make decisions. And like, that's not what Blake did.
I guarantee you in the interview before the coach gets the job with Sam, one of his questions would be, what will your staff look like? That's that is a common question to ask in a job interview. Yeah. Well, they never got that far with Manny. They didn't have time. Like, that hire was done so fast, and Manny couldn't have answered the question anyway. So look, the whole thing was a disaster. I feel bad for Manny. It was like he was thrown in a shark tank because he didn't have the, it was like being thrown in a shark tank and not being able to swim even. Like,
that's pretty good. Well, let me tell you, the thing that bothers me is any business where you surround yourselves with your friends and your cronies, you don't have the opposing point of view. This is why Manny was blind to the fact that his linebackers weren't good and that his defensive players weren't up to par. Like, people weren't going up to Manny like, hey, the guys you recruited aren't real good. Like, hey, these guys, Wayman Steed, who thinks is so great, like, he's not that good. Like, people aren't going to tell their friends things that their friends don't want to hear because that's sort of not the way these friendships go. And that's why you need to surround yourselves with quality people you respect, but maybe have a step back from the friendship layer, right? Because then you hear what they say, you process it, and then you make your decision as a head coach. But all Manny had was yes people on that staff. I mean, he was just friends with these guys, and none of them are really hard hitters except a couple of them. And like it's sad because it could have worked. You know, they had such a good recruiting class 2 years ago, and they really could have built on it with better personnel decisions and better transfer portal decisions. I mean, imagine if they got that FSU defensive end, how different this season would look. I mean, you know, it's just a shame because all it would have taken was a couple of guys who knew what they were doing and were willing to stand up to Manny and tell him, listen, this is not right. You got to do this instead. Maybe things would have been different for Manny.
But they wouldn't fight it out for that FSU defensive end from Georgia. They wouldn't.
Well, that's what you right.
They wouldn't try. They would take the layup. DeAndre Johnson was the layup.
Correct. That's
the
the
kid from
problem.
Miami that wanted to come home. Tyreek Stevenson was a layup. He was a kid from Miami that wanted to come back home.
I mean, listen, we haven't talked about this much, but you and I, and we haven't talked about it because you don't want to bash Manny too much, and I hate to do it. But
I'm not a Manny basher at all. Like,
no, but I mean, this is the truth. This is the truth. This is what actually happened. Okay, we haven't
Manny. Like,
we have not talked. Okay, we have not talked about this publicly, but we went to the first giant recruiting event after COVID. It was they got all the top recruits out there. Shamar, Wesley, you name it. Every top, even I think did Earl Little show up? I think Earl Little was even there. Marvin Jones was there.
Junior and senior Marvin Jones was there. Everybody was there.
Every top recruit you can imagine from West Palm Beach down was at this June 1st, this June 1st barbecue event.
Yeah.
And you and I were there watching it because it was held right off the street. And while the media was not invited, shockingly, we were able to go on a public street and look right at it. And we watched Manny Diaz most of the time and what he was doing. And he was not talking to recruits. And he was not talking to their families. He was just talking to his fellow coaches and sort of wandering around once in a while. And a kid would be introduced to him. He'd shake hands, and the kid would wander off. Or Manny would wander off.
Out at the barbecue.
Like, are you kidding me? He's not. Manny doesn't love recruiting. That's part of the problem. And when you don't love recruiting, you better have other people on your staff who love recruiting and are in those guys' ears. I mean, these kids were just hanging out by themselves or with their parents. I
think he's got a few guys that like. I think Cooney loves it.
Yeah, there's a couple. But Cooney's not a position coach. You need your position coaches. Cooney's great. Listen, Cooney is great with the kids.
But you had a totally incompetent guy running recruiting the last 3 years. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, you weren't a fan. You weren't a fan of his.
not from day one, man. I mean, that was a ridiculous.
Listen, hire. I didn't mind Andy, but
I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying it was a ridiculous hire. The guy knows nobody in the state of Florida. Brings nothing to the table, and you're putting him in charge of recruiting at Miami. That's why you're getting fired after 3 years for hires like that. Botching Dan Enos. I mean, you had to turn over the entire coaching staff in 2 years, and I'm not blaming Manny because
you should blame Manny because we couldn't believe
he's not
what we saw.
If you're blaming Manny, you're assuming he was capable of better. And I don't think that he was capable of that.
Is it that hard to be calling things over?
It's hard to put hard when you're a head coach that has no track record and you've never had success and you don't have that kind of network. It is very hard to put a staff together.
I mean, it's just crazy that nobody even said to him, hey, do you want to take so-and-so on a tour? Like even Cooney could have been like, hey, Manny, do you want to take Shamar on a tour of the new facilities? Or it was right at the new dorm that had opened,
dorms, yeah.
And they were giving him tours, but Manny wasn't giving tours. But hey, Manny, take Shamar a personal tour of the new facilities, you and him. Like you could have done that. Any of the coaches could have brought Shamar over and say, hey, Manny, would you mind giving Shamar a personal tour? Like it's not that hard to do.
He doesn't have that kind of presence. That's not one of his strengths, and that's one of the problems that he has as a head coach. He just doesn't have that kind of presence. I mean, and not everybody has it.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of a microcosm of the problems
you have a presence. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, you talking to me? I agree.
You have a legion of Zoom. I don't.
Oh yeah, right. Oh my Lord.
So all right. So listen, there's a million.
Hey, and by the way, did you drop the F-bomb yesterday? Because
I accidentally did drop the F-bomb.
I didn't even hear it. When did that happen?
I don't know, but thank God the YouTube filters didn't catch it.
You said fart?
Huh?
You said fart?
No, I think
My son used to think the F word was fart for a while.
Yeah, I think I accidentally did. But I caught myself, but I think I caught myself like a half second too late. But it's all right because this is internet and the show's on YouTube and their filters missed it. So Hey, it's all good. All right.
Hey, we're about to hit 40 minutes. There's one person who says they love it when we go real long, so I'm sure he'll be very happy.
We're not. We're gonna end it right now. On the recruiting front, we do have a story on Flip Carswell and how a lot of teams are starting to try to recruit him. So check that out. We can't predict whether he'll last the whole, another month or whatever, but there are a lot of teams trying to flip. And he's a guy you don't want flipped. He's an athletic kid who's a good offensive line prospect. Whether it's the current staff, a new staff, a Mario staff, whatever, Flip Carswell needs to be in this recruiting class. If you missed CaneSport Live last night, you could check out the podcast on the website today. A programming note, you've got the Lamar Thomas show tonight. I think we might have the entire Bermuda Triangle coming on Lamar's show tonight. That'll be fun. And sure we'll have a lot of Blake James talk and a lot of Manny talk also as well on the Lamar show tonight. So for Matt Shodell, I'm a well-behaved Gary Ferman who did not interrupt once today. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with a new Good Morning CaneSport, and hope you'll join us for our other shows tonight, the Lamar Thomas show. So with that, we'll say have a great day and goodbye, everybody.